What's up? What's up? I know I keep saying this. I'm gonna get the theme music. I have no idea what it's gonna sound like. That's part of the reason, a small part of the reason why I haven't finished it yet. The truth is, I don't know if I'm lazy or if I'm just too busy. Let's go with too busy. But let's get to it.
Largest calls for government transparency in modern history, the calls for UFO and UAP disclosure. Dr. Eric Davis is an astrophysicist who has investigated unidentified anomalous phenomenon, UAPs, for 30 years. He says he's seen things that the American public and the world also have a right to see. He says he's personally seen classified photos of recovered craft and non-human bodies. The thing is, though, he can't speak out, at least not yet, but he wants to, and he has a message for President Trump. Take a look.
Mr. President, with your signature, you could waive the SF 312 NDA to protect UAP whistleblowers like myself. I respectfully request that you take swift and decisive action, as the nature of UAP should not be kept deeply classified.
Dr. Eric Davis joins us now. Great to have you, Doctor. Thanks so much for being here. So you, of course, are requesting presidential immunity before going on the record about exactly what you've seen and producing the proof in the documents. So what would you need from the president in order for this to happen?
Well, I would need the standard form 312 intelligence NDA to be waived. That way I could talk about top secret SCI information about UAP evidence that I have seen in person, which are records, photographs, reports, and so forth. And those are still classified, and they are not subject to the Freedom of Information Act because it'll probably be, they're probably classified for a 50 to 70 year period, 75-year period, I believe.
Okay, so we're showing some footage from the Department of War on the screen, which is what they've produced so far. They have produced a lot of documents, but clearly based on what you're telling me, there's a lot more that you think that we should be seeing. So are you dissatisfied with the amount of information that they produced so far?
Yeah, I'm not that satisfied. They're going at. I'm not on the inside with the Department of War or the intelligence agencies, and I'm not working for Arrow or Pursue. I do know that they're working at a pace that they can, at the pace that's set by their ability to hunt down documents and videos and still images and be able to evaluate them for their efficacy as relevant to UAP phenomena or not, and then determine whether they can be declassified without harming the national security. Mm-hmm. So there could be more to be revealed, and it would not contain harmful information. It would not contain information that would harm the national security. What would do so would be the methods by which the information was acquired from foreign adversaries or foreign friendly nations or wherever the recoveries were done. So you have to be careful because we want to protect our intelligence methods and sources, and just reveal the top level information that verifies and validates the existence of UAP technology that's been recovered by the United States government, as well as the recovery of a small number of NHI bodies that were found dead in some of those cases.
So let's talk about what you say that you know of. You said that you know of 4 types of aliens. One of those are, quote, grays, and you've claimed that, as you just did, we've just recovered deceased bodies. Can you describe what they look like?
There's a minimum of 4 that we know of, and I've seen the evidence and I've seen the records. They variously are described as the grays, like what everybody saw in Close Encounters of the Third Kind at the end of that movie.
You know what's crazy? A lot of stuff that they're coming out with and kind of they're corroborating a lot of the hearsay stuff that if you do research, you knew about this stuff before it was mainstream news. You knew that the UFOs were coming from the water. You knew that uh, a lot of the stuff, the graves, like even, and I think a lot of the stuff that they say in movies, because the Pentagon has some type of contract or whatever with Hollywood. They control a lot of the movies like Transformers and Independence Day. They kind of made a lot of those movies. I think a lot of that stuff is to prepare us, like the walk us into this information. Like even with the releases, whatever the tranches, they're slow walking us to the point where they want us to be bored, or even stop paying attention, or even stop like being concerned. But I'm not bored.
Final scene. And then there's the Nordics, which are very tall statured, Caucasian looking individuals. And then there's the beings that resemble or look like insects, like a praying mantis type insect, but they're not an insect. Or they could be, but we don't know. But it's just that people, when they're not familiar with something that presents an ontological shock to them. They'll try to overlay what their imagination helps them understand what it is they're seeing that's so strange and otherworldly, or outworldly, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So there's these species that would resemble insectoids or insect. And then there's the reptilians for the same case, in that their morphology, body structure looks like a reptilian. And they may not be reptilian.
So if they
And then
have
there's
these
other ones.
bodies, if the government has these bodies, where are they keeping them?
Uh, I don't know now. That's a net that I could not crack when I worked for the Advanced Aerospace Weapon Systems Application Program, and that was the code name for the DIA's UAP investigation and research project
Mm-hmm.
back in 2008 through 2012. And so I tried to find that. I've had colleagues that looked for that as well, and we did have a hint of where those bodies went to when they were recovered, but the organization no longer exists.
Wait,
What
so it was
happened
given
is
to a
this is
private organization rather than with
no,
the
it was
government?
given to a military institute.
Okay.
Um, and a medical institute, and it's classified. And that institute has been in existence since since the Civil War. I don't know the exact year. I'm thinking 1865. And that institute got split up into two or three components and relocated into different
Okay.
military medical institutes by the first Obama administration.
Uh-huh. So if these alien forms are alive, do they eat the same kind of food that humans do or animals do, or do they breathe regular air? I mean, what kind of beings are they?
I have no idea because I've never been able to access that type of information.
Mm.
So I don't know what they eat. If most of them that I'm aware of were found dead, although I've heard that David Grush had mentioned that there was one that he knew of that had been captured alive, but I don't know anything else. That's something he and I have not had that conversation to discuss.
All right. Well, Dr. Eric Davis, thank you for joining us, and we'll see if you're able to reveal more. Thank you.
So even like there has been stories of crash landings or visitors in Brazil, in I think Zimbabwe or in South Africa. There's been multiple stories going back to like the 90s that would come and go on YouTube. And now a lot of this stuff is corroborated. Now we know it's true. And the government saying, oh, yeah, that did happen. Um, the Strait of Hormuz, it's interesting. We're claiming water like it's a territory. Really, that just means our Navy is going to be there indefinitely. Because we could claim it, but the rest of the world, they have a say too. Like the Gulf of Mexico, yeah, we already controlled it. doesn't really change anything. We was probably, let's see.
You're one sentence away from launching your website with
until America implements its commitments under the Memorandum of Understanding, including lifting the blockade on the release of frozen assets, lifting the oil sanctions, ending threats and military operations on all fronts, and other conditions that America has agreed to under the understanding, the strait will not be reopened.
Well, this comes after a maritime monitor reports another ship was struck while transiting through the Strait of Hormuz, hit by an unknown projectile. I want to bring in senior White House reporter Betsy Klein. And Betsy, tell us what more you're hearing from the White House this hour related to that.
Well, Christina, yesterday that memorandum of understanding that had been reached between the U.S. and Iran officially expired with no nuclear deal, no clear strategy to end this war, and traffic in the Strait of Hormuz, that critical oil thoroughfare, still severely restricted. Now, the Strait of Hormuz remains one of the thorniest remaining issues in this conflict. Prior to this war, no one had full control over the Strait of Hormuz. And then on Friday, President Trump suggested that it would become a U.S. territory. He posted a map today. You can see there on the screen that says new U.S. territory circling the Strait of Hormuz. And maritime law experts, of course, have been skeptical of this move. And it comes at the same time that Iranian officials are laying out their new demands for reopening this strait. They say that the U.S. blockade must end. They want the release of frozen assets, as well as removal of oil sanctions and the end of military threats and operations in this strait. Now, yesterday we heard from one of the president's top negotiators, Jared Kushner. He said that discussions between the U.S. and Iran were more robust than they had ever been. He also said that the conversations were positive and active. Now, President Trump directly contradicting that just moments ago in a new post to social media. He says, quote, "There are no talks or conversations going on or scheduled with the Islamic Republic."
What does it actually mean to rename it the Strait of America? What does that actually mean? Because before all of this, yeah, they said no one controlled it, but we had freedom of navigation, like the rest of the world could use it. I think the only thing that naming it does is kind of telling us in the back of our mind, okay, now our military has to be here indefinitely. During war, during peace, we have to keep it because it's water. It's not land, it's water. But before, we didn't need to name it, we didn't need to control it. So I don't know if that sounds like an improvement or what. To me, it doesn't sound like an improvement. To me, it sounds like we're worse off. Because now, if we don't keep it open, it's not open. And what's going on with Andrew Tate? He got arrested and they let him go. And the stuff that he's being charged with, they already had the evidence and the witnesses for. So I don't know what's going on. I wasn't there. If he did something, he'll probably pay for it. But it just seems like a weird situation.
I know many of you think I'm AI. I'm not AI.
And he's threatening to blackmail the president. If he had something that was, good enough to get him out of jail, he probably wouldn't have gotten arrested in the first place. But we'll see. We'll see.
I'm gonna sleep.
Yeah, you go ahead and sleep, Andrew Tate. That is Andrew Tate, who alongside his idiot brother are currently locked behind bars in Miami, throwing an absolute tantrum on the internet through their lawyer, Joe McBride, and the dozens of people who are protesting outside the facility, demanding that Donald Trump and the Republican Party free them from the political persecution that they are facing because they are about to be extradited to the United Kingdom for horrific charges against women and kids. They are bad human beings, and all that bravado all that posturing about how easy prison is, about how great they have it, about how cool they are, it is all out the window. They are in full-on panic mode. They are threatening Donald Trump. They are threatening Marco Rubio. They are threatening the Republican Party. And we are in the middle of a massive international crisis in the making. We are in the middle of a massive political crisis for Donald Trump and his MAGA movement. Let's dive into the latest, and specifically for this video, I want to focus on how the Tate brothers got so intertwined with Donald Trump and his White House, because the stories behind this debacle are truly incredible. Let's dive in. Before we get started, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Be sure to engage with this video. Help us to build an independent media company that can take our country back from Donald Trump and Andrew Tate. Before I break down an article from just a few days ago from NPR about how the Tate brothers were able to merge their so-called movement with Donald Trump's so-called movement, I want to just finish the rest of this clip because it is just so embarrassing once you get a sense of how absolutely fragile and weak and ridiculous Andrew Tate truly is.
Wake up. What have they prepared me for breakfast today? No concern for the price of food. No concern for inflation. I wonder if I'm going to have breakfast or not, because I heard the food prices are crazy. Come downstairs, full spread. Breakfast. Thanks, guys. How you doing, guys? Yep. Cigarette? Thanks. Yep. Can't wait to sit around and talk all day. Might hit the gym later. Might spend some time in the library. Get a law degree. Learn all about this fiat currency Ponzi money scheme they're using to enslave humanity. All those fools out there are working their ass off for a job. I'm in here reading a book, understanding how it all actually works. I can gain knowledge.
All right, I think we'll just go ahead and cut off this clown here. I mean, man, if prison is as great as Andrew Tate says, and I don't know why he's fighting so hard to stay plugged into the matrix, why he's working so hard to manipulate the American political system that is so broken under Donald Trump and his MAGA movement that they want to stay here in the United States. He should enjoy prison in the UK or in Romania or frankly here, because these two, he and his brother Tristan, are absolutely guilty of disgusting crimes, but they are counting on Donald Trump and Marco Rubio and the Republican Party to save him. And here's why. Here's how they've been able to pull off this association with Donald Trump and his MAGA movement that they are so concerned is not going to step in and basically pardon them for their crimes. And I'm going to jump around this article from NPR and WBEZ in Chicago, the best city in America. I'm going to jump around it just a little bit for you guys to get a sense of this. Let's start with this section of the piece here. Far-right media figures embrace Tate. In 2017, Andrew Tate, a former kickboxer, was running a lucrative webcam porn business with his brother Tristan, an enterprise that would lead to accusations that the Tates coerced women to perform sex on camera and withheld their earnings from online work. Tate also faced charges related to indecent images of child and extreme pornography. That is one of the charges currently that they are fighting in the UK that they are absolutely guilty of because they have basically bragged about it on camera. Andrew Tate was banned from Twitter after saying of women, quote, "If you put yourself in a position to be raped, you must bear some responsibility." Later, he was also blocked from platforms such as Instagram and TikTok. By 2022, Andrew Tate's banning turned into a cause celebrity for supposed right-wing free speech advocates. Conservative commentator Ben Shapiro, a noted Tate disdainer, recently said, because Tate reframed his deplatforming as the political suppression of traditional masculinity. And I'll pause right there because that's the first step of this merging of Andrew Tate's movement with the MAGA movement, this manosphere relationship that they've built that did deliver Donald Trump the presidency in 2024, whether I liked it or not. They made everything about free speech absolutism. They said, we have been deplatformed. They're taking it away from us because of our conservative values. This is about free speech. And a lot of people, idiots, frankly, bought into that idea. And sure, there were some points that were made by some people in these circles about letting comedians make dumb jokes, and maybe the government stepped in a few times that they shouldn't have. But for the most part, these guys are scumbags who should be behind prison. But all of these MAGA influencers who were desperate for power, who were desperate for access, who were desperate for getting an opportunity to talk to the young male audience that Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate had created, were so desperate to partner up with this guy. Now they find themselves in bed with gangsters, people who have violently to women and kids, and they don't know how to disassociate themselves. They have now corrupted the entire Republican Party alongside Donald Trump by their association with the Tate brothers, and they cannot run away from that. And that leads me a little bit deeper into the article to talk about their relationship with the Trump campaign. To Trump and other politicians, Holt says, Tate is a compelling figure because he offers access to a massive and energetic fan base dominated by a desirable demographic, young men. And Holt adds, some of the views Tate expresses align with Trump and his camp. It's like, here's a couple of guys who are promoting the kind of ideals ideals of hypermasculinity and machismo that we would like to promote, Held says, and they seem politically friendly, politically supportive of us, and they have this massive online audience. I want to be super clear with everybody. There is nothing masculine about Andrew or Tristan Tate. They are absolute fakes. Real men protect and provide and build. These guys don't do anything like that. They are scam artists. They're just like Donald Trump. There's nothing masculine about Donald Trump. I hate this idea that these guys get to decide what is masculine or not because they don't know anything about protecting people. They don't know anything about building and creating things. That's what men are supposed to do. And it absolutely pisses me off. And by the way, for those who get mad at me when I say that, that doesn't mean that women can't do it either. Women can absolutely be protectors and providers. I just want to make that super clear because sometimes people get me wrong when I say that. Increasingly direct connections to the Trump camp emerged as Trump began his run to regain the presidency. When Trump launched his campaign in late 2022, those present at the Mar-a-Lago resort event included Joe McBride, the Tate's longtime lawyer who also represented several January 6 defendants. Joe McBride keeps coming up as an absolute scumbag linchpin of this movement between the Trump and the Tates. In June 2024, Tate took part in a Twitter Spaces live stream with Donald Trump Jr. promoting a meme coin called MAGA. So stupid. According to a press release at the time, that same month during an episode of the Iced Coffee Hour podcast, influencer Justin Waller, a close business associate of Tate's, said he visited Mar-a-Lago where he met and socialized with Barron Trump. At the time, Barron was helping his father's campaign connect with figures popular with Gen Z, and there is that smug son of a bitch, Barron Trump right there, who also should probably be in prison just for the crypto scams that he is running alone. Again, this is a massive, massive political issue, and I could point to all kinds of different associations that the Trump campaign and the Trump White House have with the Tate brothers. They chose to merge their movements at a time when it was expedient for the both of them. Donald Trump was struggling to win back young male voters in 2024. He knew he had an opportunity and he needed to merge with the manosphere. That's what he wanted out of it. The Tate brothers wanted to get out of Romania where they were being detained for heinous crimes against women and against children. And that's what happened. They were brought back to the United States, but now they're in serious legal trouble in the UK. And the United States has a rock solid extradition treaty with the United Kingdom that I don't think Donald Trump can afford to break right now. He lacks the international political capital and he lacks the domestic political capital to step in and save these guys. And as I have covered in other videos.
Okay, this is kind of boring. Everybody keeps saying that. Everybody keeps saying, oh, Donald Trump can't afford to break the extradition. I mean, one thing I know about Trump, one thing everybody should know about Trump by now is that he's going to do what he wants. He don't care about any alliance. He's breaking all the old alliances and he's making new ones. You know, there's no permanent enemies. There's no permanent friends. He's a what have you done for me lately type of guy. With that being said, I think if he was going to help them, he wouldn't have let them get arrested in the first place. So I don't know, but we'll see. Until next time, I'll probably have, hopefully, theme music. Maybe. I hope so. Like and subscribe. Take care. Peace out.